Hello, I'm Dr. Laura Murillo, President and CEO of the Houston Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. What an honor it is to interview the newest council member here to our city, Joaquin Martinez, who's been a great friend and advocate of the Houston Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. He and his family have done so much to get to where they are today, representing our city on city council. So, council member, congratulations.
Thank you, Dr. Murillo. Really good friend as well. Thank you for everything you continue to do for the city of Houston, but also for the Latino community. And on a personal note as well, I think you serve as a mentor to a lot of folks, and I want to let you know that I'm going to be leaning on you as well throughout this journey.
Thank you so very much. And at this time, especially, our city needs advocates at city council, needs people to understand that the city runs on behalf of its, community leaders and people who are out there working every day, and entrepreneurs who are the epicenter of the great value that business brings to this great city. But I want to back up a little bit, and I know you've worked at City Hall for many years. You've been out there. I have seen you run the laps around this city, and so many things that you should be very proud of. On that note, what was it that actually got you to run for office?
Thank you for the question. I used to work for former council member John Castillo right out of high school for about 3 years as an intern. And I was 18, 19, and 20. So some of that kind of stayed within me. And then after the council member was termed out, I started working for what is now Baker Ripley. It used to be Neighborhood Centers. And I would say probably about 2 to 3 years into working with Baker Ripley, I started connecting some dots where I was part of the youth service development portion of the community-based initiative programs, and knowing that I'm filling out forms for CDBG, community development block grants, that the federal government gets to the city. Started connecting some dots. I'm like, well, if we're asking the city for funds, and I was just at the city, how can I make my way back to the city of Houston? And I'll be honest, I think it was really a long, patient journey, but it was a very purposeful journey to be at City Hall, specifically as your District I City Council member. I would say almost 20 years in the making.
So some things take time and are definitely worth waiting for. And so we're so proud of you to represent such an important region of the city. So for those who may not know, tell us about what region you are representing.
Yeah, no, definitely. I'll talk in a higher level, but then I'll zoom into a couple of specific areas in the district. So we represent most of downtown. We start heading southeast into the historic East End neighborhoods from Eastwood to Magnolia Park, and then we hit south of 610. 45 is a little bit of our spinal cord for a bit, mostly though to the west of 45, which is the hobby area. And post redistricting, we take up just north of the Beltway now. We do go southeast around the Ship Channel, up 610, and then there's pocket neighborhoods in the northeast part, kind of North Shore area, west of or east of 610, north of I-10, and west of Greens Bayou. So it's a very diverse community. In downtown, we have stadiums. In just east of downtown, you have where you start seeing new development and new homes coming up. And as I mentioned, the East End, historic East End, and even the hobby area, we have some historic neighborhoods. But then that encompasses the hobby airport as well. I mentioned the Port of Houston. We have some parts of it as well. So we have what I like to say is really what the city encompasses, right? You have the entertainment, you have the workforce area, and we have traditional neighborhoods. So I like to say this a lot: wherever District I goes, or where is where the city goes. And so that's a good kind of layout of District I.
And so many, I'm sure, priorities. Do you have top 3 priorities?
Yes. So as you mentioned, I worked at the city, and I worked in the council office for 10 years, and there was a lot of great things that we were able to do. But as the city continues to evolve and get more populated, more dense, as communities start changing a little bit as well, dynamics. For me, I want to really focus in the East End when it comes to affordability, housing. I grew up in the East End. I went to elementary, middle school, and high school. and affordability is becoming something that those residents are really wanting to ensure so they can stay and continue to build on their legacy of family, right? So single family, multifamily, senior housing is a priority there. In the hobby area, and I just came from a meeting with Baker Ripley. Uh, Social services are important. It's an opportunity because you have an anchor like the airport, hobby airport, where we can still see a mixture of housing development that's affordable, but also see what commercial development can do to that area where we really are lacking services, and not just social services, but then also some of your things that you've seen in naturally get better in the East End, right? A coffee shop, a brewery, some restaurants, and then some of the other things that, your dry cleaners, right? So how do we start injecting some of that small business entrepreneurship within the hobby area? And then up in the northeast part of the district, I would love to see how we can utilize some of our economic development tools, like the tax increment reinvestment zone, to expand south of where our northern boundary is now, to see infrastructure improvements, drainage improvements, but also start seeing some of the amenities. We have one of the largest undeveloped green spaces. There's some development there at Herman Brown Park, but then there's opportunities to actually make that northeast part of Houston another destination for the city, right? When you start looking at outdoor space, and so those are my three top, and I put them out there in kind of the way the lay of the land is, but then I also want to make sure public safety is important, right? Infrastructure in general. Also want to make sure that your regular city services. I know those are not always the sexiest things to talk about, but those are important to a city to make sure we can work, live, and play.
Well, sounds like there's a big agenda in front of you, but nothing that you can't handle. And please know that you can count on the Houston Hispanic Chamber of Commerce to be supportive of the work that you do and the rest of your colleagues at City Hall. Thank you so much for joining us today, and we wish you all the best. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Murillo.